Hello everyone. Today, I want to talk about a secret that isn't really a secret at all, yet so many of us struggle to embrace it. We all want to be mentally strong. We want to handle challenges with grace, stand firm in the face of adversity, and bounce back from setbacks. But here's the truth, mental strength isn't about powering through and pretending nothing hurts. It's about embracing what does. Somewhere along the way, we were taught that strength means having it all together. That being tough means never showing weakness. But let me ask you this, have you ever had a moment where you admitted your fears, opened up about your struggles, and found that you felt lighter, not weaker, but stronger? Growth never happens in the comfort zone. And yet, so often, we let fear keep us in spaces that feel safe but small. Mental strength means choosing courage over comfort. It means being willing to fail, to stumble, and to rise again. Think about the people who inspire you. Are they the ones who had it easy? Or are they the ones who faced hardship, took risks, and refused to let failure define them? Each of us has a choice: hide behind perfectionism, or step forward, imperfect and brave. Mental strength isn't about never falling, it's about getting back up every single time. Another myth about mental strength? That it's built alone. The truth is, human beings are wired for connection. When we isolate ourselves, we don't become stronger, we become lonelier, more fragile. Real resilience is built in relationships. It's in the friend who sits with you in your mess. It's in the mentor who reminds you of your worth. It's in the community that lifts you up when you're too tired to stand on your own. Strength is not about saying, "I don't need anyone." Strength is saying, "I do." And finally, let's talk about the voice in your head, the one that speaks to you when no one else is around. Is it kind? Or is it cruel? Too often, we are our own worst critics. We hold ourselves to impossible standards and tear ourselves down for every mistake. But here's what research shows: self-compassion is one of the greatest predictors of resilience. When we treat ourselves with the same kindness we would offer a friend, we become stronger, not weaker. So the next time you fail, instead of saying, "I'm not good enough," try this: "I am learning." Mental strength isn't about pretending to have it all figured out. It's about showing up imperfect, vulnerable, and willing to do the work. It's about choosing courage over comfort, leaning into connection, and speaking to ourselves with kindness. So if you want to be mentally strong, don't hide. Don't power through. Instead, embrace who you are, exactly as you are, and trust that your strength comes not from the absence of struggle but from the way you rise within. Is often misunderstood. We are conditioned to believe that strength means having it all together, never showing weakness, and always pushing forward no matter what. We grow up hearing phrases like "toughen up" or "don't let them see you cry," as if emotions make us fragile, as if admitting fear or uncertainty somehow makes us less capable. But the truth is, vulnerability is not weakness. In fact, it is one of the most powerful sources of strength we have. It takes courage to be vulnerable, to step into discomfort, and to allow ourselves to be seen as we truly are: flawed, uncertain, and still figuring things out. There is a misconception that being mentally strong means shutting down emotions or ignoring pain. But resilience does not come from numbing feelings or pretending everything is fine. It comes from acknowledging what we feel, facing it with honesty, and allowing ourselves to process it fully. When we suppress emotions, we don't actually make them disappear, they just find other ways to show up, often in the form of stress, anxiety, or self-doubt. On the other hand, when we embrace vulnerability, we create space for healing, growth, and real emotional strength. Think about the people you admire most: the leaders, the role models, the ones who inspire you. Are they the ones who pretend to have all the answers, who never admit mistakes, or who never let their guard down? Or are they the ones who show up with authenticity, who admit when they are struggling, and who have the courage to be real? True leadership, in any capacity, is built on trust, and trust is built on vulnerability. People don't connect with perfection, they connect with honesty. When we allow ourselves to be vulnerable, we create opportunities for deeper connections, stronger relationships, and greater impact. It takes a tremendous amount of strength to stand in front of others and say, "I don't know, I need help," or "I made a mistake." But when we do, something incredible happens. Instead of losing respect, we often gain it. Instead of pushing people away, we draw them closer. Vulnerability fosters connection, and connection fosters resilience. When we stop hiding behind a mask of invincibility and instead embrace our humanity, we open ourselves to support, guidance, and the kind of relationships that make us stronger in the long run. Many of us fear vulnerability because we associate it with rejection or failure. We think that if we show our true selves, people might not accept us, or worse, they might judge us. But the reality is, when we allow ourselves to be vulnerable, we invite others to do the same. We create a culture of openness where honesty is valued, and where people feel safe to share their struggles. Instead of pretending everything is perfect, we create space for real conversations and meaningful connections. Vulnerability also plays a crucial role in personal growth. When we take risks, try new things, or step outside our comfort zones, we are exposing ourselves to potential failure. But without that risk, there is no growth. Every great achievement, every breakthrough, every moment of transformation comes from a willingness to be vulnerable. Whether it's speaking up in a meeting, trying something new, admitting we need help, or pursuing a dream despite the fear of failure, vulnerability is at the heart of every courageous act. One of the most powerful aspects of vulnerability is that it allows us to develop emotional resilience. When we stop avoiding discomfort and instead embrace it, we build the ability to navigate difficult emotions. We learn that pain, fear, and uncertainty are not things to be avoided at all costs but rather experiences that we can move through and learn from. By facing our emotions instead of running from them, we develop the confidence to handle life's challenges. Self-compassion is an essential part of this process. Too often, we are our own harshest critics, judging ourselves for our struggles and expecting perfection from ourselves. But being vulnerable also means being kind to ourselves, acknowledging that we are human, and recognizing that imperfection is part of the journey. When we practice self-compassion, we cultivate inner strength. We stop seeing setbacks as personal failures and start viewing them as opportunities for learning and growth. Vulnerability is also an essential component of meaningful relationships. Whether in friendships, romantic relationships, or professional connections, openness and honesty create trust. When we allow ourselves to be seen for who we really are, we give others permission to do the same. We move beyond surface-level interactions and create bonds built on authenticity. In a world that often encourages us to put up walls and hide behind carefully curated images of success, choosing vulnerability is an act of courage. It says, "I trust myself enough to be real," and that kind of trust is the foundation of strong, lasting relationships. In moments of difficulty, vulnerability is what allows us to reach out for support. Many of us are taught that independence is a sign of strength and that asking for help is a sign of weakness. But the reality is, no one achieves success or overcomes adversity alone. Every person who has ever accomplished something meaningful has had help along the way. Whether it's through mentors, friends, family, or professional support, leaning on others is not a sign of weakness, it is a sign of wisdom. Acknowledging that we need support and allowing ourselves to receive it makes us stronger, not weaker. The most powerful thing about vulnerability is that it transforms the way we experience life. When we stop fearing it and start embracing it, we become more engaged, more present, and more connected. We stop holding ourselves back out of fear and start living with greater freedom and authenticity. We learn that strength is not about having it all together, it's about showing up, being real, and having the courage to face life as it comes. So, if you want to be mentally strong, start by embracing vulnerability. Allow yourself to be seen, take risks, ask for help when you need it, and speak your truth even when it's uncomfortable. Strength is not found in perfection or in always being right. It is found in the willingness to be open, to learn, to grow, and to trust that who you are, flaws and all, is enough. Courage over comfort is one of the hardest choices we face every single day. It is easy to stay in what is familiar, to do what we have always done, and to avoid the discomfort of the unknown. We are wired for safety, for certainty, for patterns that make us feel in control. But here is the truth: nothing great ever comes from staying comfortable. Growth, transformation, and true mental strength come from choosing courage, even when it feels terrifying. It means stepping forward when every part of us wants to retreat. It means speaking up when staying silent would be easier. It means risking failure, embarrassment, and discomfort because what is on the other side is worth it. The most meaningful experiences in life do not come from playing it safe. Think about the moments that have shaped you, the challenges that have made you stronger, the decisions that have changed your life. Were they moments of comfort? Or were they moments when you had to take a deep breath and move forward despite the fear? The people who inspire us, the leaders we admire, and the stories that stay with us are never about those who avoided risk. They are about those who faced uncertainty and chose courage over ease. Courage is not the absence of fear. It is feeling the fear and taking action anyway. Too often, we think that being brave means not being scared, that those who take big risks are just naturally fearless. But that is not true. The strongest people, the boldest leaders, and the most resilient individuals all feel fear. The difference is, they do not let it stop them. They acknowledge it, they respect it, but they do not let it control their actions. Fear will always be present when we step into something new, but it does not have to dictate our choices. Every time we avoid discomfort, we reinforce the belief that we cannot handle it. When we choose comfort over courage, we teach ourselves that fear is something to be obeyed. Over time, this makes us smaller. We shrink our dreams, our potential, and our lives because we convince ourselves that stepping outside our comfort zone is too risky. But when we choose courage, even in small ways, we start to build confidence. We prove to ourselves that we are capable, that we can do hard things, and that fear does not have to define us. One of the biggest barriers to choosing courage is the fear of failure. No one likes to fail. It feels painful, embarrassing, and sometimes even shameful. But failure is not the opposite of success, it is part of the journey to success. Every person who has ever achieved something significant has failed, probably multiple times. The difference is that they did not let failure be the final chapter. They saw it as a lesson, an opportunity to grow, and a necessary step towards something greater. When we avoid failure at all costs, we also avoid learning. We avoid the experiences that make us stronger, wiser, and more capable. Think about a time you failed at something and then learned from it. Maybe it was a test you didn't pass, a job interview that didn't go well, or a relationship that didn't work out. In the moment, it felt painful. But looking back, what did it teach you? How did it shape you? What did you gain from it? Every challenge carries a lesson, but we only get to learn it if we are willing to lean in rather than run away. Another major reason people choose comfort over courage is the fear of what others will think. We are social creatures, and we crave acceptance. We do not want to be judged, criticized, or seen as foolish. But living our lives based on the opinions of others is a guaranteed way to stay stuck. If we spend all our energy trying to fit in, we will never have the freedom to truly grow. There will always be people who do not understand our choices, who question our path, or who doubt our abilities. That is not a sign that we are doing something wrong. Often, it is a sign that we are doing something brave. Courage means being willing to be seen, to stand out, to be different. It means accepting that not everyone will agree with us or support us, and still moving forward anyway. It means prioritizing our own growth over the comfort of pleasing others. At the end of our lives, we will not regret the chances we took or the risks we embraced. We will regret the moments we let fear stop us, the opportunities we let pass by, and the times we chose safety over possibility. One of the most important ways to build courage is through small, daily choices. Courage is not just about big, life-changing moments. It is about the little decisions we make every day. It is about speaking up in a meeting, setting a boundary, trying something new, or asking for help. It is about having difficult conversations instead of avoiding them, pushing ourselves to grow instead of settling, and showing up fully even when we feel uncertain. Every time we choose courage, we strengthen our ability to handle discomfort. We train our minds to see fear as a challenge to overcome rather than a stop sign. We develop resilience, confidence, and a deep trust in ourselves. And the more we do it, the easier it becomes. Courage is like a muscle, the more we use it, the stronger it gets. Courage also allows us to live with authenticity. When we choose comfort, we often have to compromise parts of ourselves. We stay quiet when we want to speak. We hold back our true thoughts and feelings. We make choices based on what is easy rather than what is right. But when we choose courage, we align with who we truly are. We honor our values, our dreams, and our truth. And in doing so, we create a life that feels meaningful and fulfilling. Ultimately, courage over comfort is not just about success or personal growth. It is about the kind of life we want to live. Do we want to look back and see a life filled with hesitation, playing it safe, and avoiding anything that felt scary? Or do we want to look back and see a life where we took risks, embraced challenges, and stepped into our full potential? The choice is ours. Choosing courage is not always easy, but it is always worth it. It is what allows us to evolve, to achieve, and to experience the depth and richness of life. So the next time fear tries to hold you back, remind yourself, comfort is safe, but courage is powerful. And the life you truly want is waiting on the other side of that choice. Resilience is often thought of as an individual trait, something we build within ourselves through discipline, hard work, and personal strength. We hear messages that encourage independence, that tell us to be strong on our own, to push through challenges without asking for help. But the truth is, resilience is not just about inner strength, it is deeply rooted in connection. We do not build resilience alone, we build it through our relationships, through the support of others, and through the bonds that remind us we are not meant to carry everything by ourselves. Connection is the foundation of resilience because it gives us the strength to keep going when we feel like giving up, the encouragement to rise after we fall, and the reassurance that we are not alone in our struggles. When we face difficult times, our natural instinct is often to withdraw. Pain, fear, and uncertainty can make us want to retreat into ourselves, to put up walls and protect our emotions from others. We tell ourselves that no one will understand, that we have to figure things out on our own, that showing vulnerability is a sign of weakness. But isolation does not make us stronger, it makes us more fragile. Human beings are wired for connection. From the moment we are born, we depend on others for survival, for emotional security, for love and belonging. That need for connection does not disappear as we grow older. In fact, it becomes even more essential, especially when we are struggling. One of the greatest protective factors against stress, trauma, and adversity is the presence of supportive relationships. Studies have shown that people who have strong social connections are more resilient, healthier, and better able to cope with life's challenges. It is not just about having people around us, it is about having meaningful, authentic relationships where we feel seen, heard, and supported. When we are going through a hard time, knowing that someone is there for us can make all the difference. Sometimes, resilience is not about being strong on our own, it is about allowing ourselves to lean on others, to receive support, and to recognize that we do not have to carry everything by ourselves. Resilience through connection is about more than just receiving support, it is also about giving it. When we show up for others, we strengthen our own ability to navigate adversity. Acts of kindness, empathy, and compassion create a sense of purpose and belonging that reinforce our own emotional resilience. There is something powerful about knowing that we can make a difference in someone else's life, even in the smallest ways. When we lift others up, we also lift ourselves. We create a cycle of support that makes everyone stronger, a network of resilience that reminds us we are all in this together. One of the most powerful aspects of connection is that it allows us to share our struggles without fear of judgment. Too often, we feel pressure to appear strong, to pretend we have everything under control, to hide our pain behind a mask of confidence. But true strength is not about pretending, it is about being honest. When we open up to others about our struggles, we create space for real connection. We allow others to see us as we truly are, and in doing so, we invite them to do the same. Vulnerability is not a weakness, it is a bridge that brings us closer to others. And in that closeness, we find resilience. Connection also provides perspective. When we are struggling, our problems can feel overwhelming, as if we are the only ones going through them. But when we share our experiences with others, we realize that we are not alone. Others have faced similar challenges, others have felt the same pain, and others have found a way through. Their stories remind us that hardship is not permanent, that we have the strength to move forward, and that there is hope even in the darkest moments. In times of difficulty, the people we surround ourselves with matter. Supportive relationships do not just happen by accident, they are built with intention. It is important to nurture connections with those who uplift us, who encourage us, and who remind us of our worth. At the same time, it is just as important to recognize relationships that drain us, that make us feel small, or that add to our stress rather than relieve it. Building resilience through connection means choosing relationships that strengthen us, investing in those who truly care, and letting go of connections that do not serve our well-being. Resilience is not about never struggling, it is about knowing that when we do struggle, we are not alone. It is about trusting that we have people who will stand by us, who will listen, who will remind us of our strength when we forget it ourselves. It is about the moments when a simple conversation, a kind word, or a shared experience makes all the difference. The beauty of connection is that it does not just help us get through the hard times, it also makes the good times even more meaningful. Success, joy, and accomplishment are amplified when shared with others. When we achieve something, when we overcome a challenge, when we find happiness, having people to celebrate with makes it even more fulfilling. The highs and lows of life are meant to be experienced in community, not in isolation. If we want to build resilience, we must embrace connection. We must be willing to reach out, to ask for help when we need it, to allow ourselves to be supported. We must also be willing to offer that same support to others, to be the kind of person who listens, who encourages, who stands beside those who are struggling. Resilience is not about being unshakable or untouched by hardship, it is about knowing that no matter what we face, we do not have to face it alone. Choosing connection over isolation is an act of strength. It requires courage to be open, to trust others, to let people see our struggles. But in that openness, we find something powerful, a sense of belonging, a reminder that we are not alone, and the knowledge that together, we can handle anything. Resilience is not built in solitude, it is built in community. It is built in the moments when we show up for each other, when we offer a hand to hold, when we remind one another that we are strong enough to keep going. In the end, resilience is not just about surviving difficult times, it is about growing through them. And the greatest growth happens in connection with others. When we embrace the power of relationships, when we allow ourselves to be supported and to support others in return, we do not just become more resilient, we become more whole. We create a life that is rich in meaning, in love, and in the kind of strength that can only be found through connection. The power of self-compassion is one of the most transformative forces in our lives, yet it is often the one we struggle with the most. We live in a world that teaches us to be kind to others, to show empathy, to offer support and understanding to those around us. But when it comes to ourselves, we are often our harshest critics. We hold ourselves to impossible standards, replay our mistakes over and over, and speak to ourselves in ways we would never speak to a friend. We believe that being hard on ourselves will make us stronger, that self-criticism will push us to be better, and that if we are too gentle, we will become lazy or weak. But the truth is, self-compassion is not about making excuses or avoiding responsibility, it is about recognizing our humanity, treating ourselves with the same kindness we extend to others, and building a foundation of resilience and inner strength that allows us to grow, learn, and thrive. Self-compassion is the ability to meet ourselves with kindness in moments of struggle, failure, or pain. It is about acknowledging that we are human, that we will make mistakes, that we will have setbacks, and that none of these things define our worth. Instead of beating ourselves up, self-compassion allows us to step back and offer ourselves the same understanding and encouragement we would give to someone we care about. It does not mean ignoring our flaws or avoiding growth, it means recognizing that growth happens best in an environment of love, not in one of punishment. Many people believe that self-compassion is a form of weakness, that if we are too kind to ourselves, we will become complacent. But research shows the opposite. People who practice self-compassion are actually more motivated, more resilient, and more likely to take responsibility for their actions. When we treat ourselves with kindness, we create a space where we can acknowledge our mistakes without shame, learn from them without fear, and move forward with confidence. Self-compassion does not lower our standards, it allows us to reach them in a healthier, more sustainable way. One of the biggest barriers to self-compassion is the way we talk to ourselves. Our inner voice can be harsh, critical, and unforgiving. We say things to ourselves that we would never say to someone we love. We call ourselves failures, tell ourselves we are not good enough, and magnify our flaws until they are all we see. But if we stopped for a moment and asked, would I say this to a friend, the answer would almost always be no. If a loved one came to us feeling discouraged, we would remind them of their strengths, reassure them that mistakes are part of the process, and encourage them to keep going. Yet, when it comes to ourselves, we often default to self-judgment instead of self-support. Learning to change our inner dialogue is one of the most powerful steps towards self-compassion. Self-compassion is not about ignoring our pain, it is about learning to sit with it in a way that is gentle and healing. When we experience failure or disappointment, our instinct is often to push the feelings away, to numb them, or to distract ourselves. But self-compassion invites us to acknowledge our emotions, to validate our struggles, and to give ourselves permission to feel without judgment. It is in this space of acceptance that true healing happens. When we allow ourselves to process our emotions instead of suppressing them, we develop a deeper understanding of ourselves, and we build the emotional resilience needed to face future challenges. One of the most powerful aspects of self-compassion is the way it connects us to others. Often, when we struggle, we feel isolated, as if we are the only ones experiencing pain, failure, or self-doubt. But the truth is, suffering is part of the human experience. Everyone makes mistakes, everyone faces difficulties, and everyone has moments of self-doubt. When we practice self-compassion, we remind ourselves that we are not alone, that imperfection is part of being human, and that we are worthy of kindness even in our most difficult moments. Self-compassion also helps us break free from the trap of perfectionism. Many of us have been taught to believe that we must be perfect to be worthy, that mistakes make us less valuable, that success is the only measure of our worth, and that we should never show weakness. But perfection is an impossible standard, and chasing it only leads to exhaustion, anxiety, and self-doubt. Self-compassion allows us to let go of the need to be perfect and instead embrace the reality that we are enough just as we are. It teaches us that our worth is not tied to our achievements, that we do not have to earn our own kindness, and that we are deserving of love and respect even when we fall short. Another important part of self-compassion is learning to set healthy boundaries. Many people struggle with saying no, with prioritizing their own needs, and with allowing themselves to rest. They feel guilty for taking time for themselves, for putting their well-being first, and for not always meeting the expectations of others. But self-compassion reminds us that taking care of ourselves is not selfish, it is necessary. When we are kind to ourselves, we give ourselves permission to rest, to recharge, and to protect our energy. And when we do that, we are able to show up for others in a more genuine and sustainable way. Self-compassion is not just about how we treat ourselves in moments of struggle, it is also about how we celebrate ourselves in moments of success. Too often, we downplay our achievements, move on to the next goal without pausing, or convince ourselves that what we have done is not good enough. But self-compassion invites us to acknowledge our efforts, to take pride in our progress, and to recognize that we are constantly growing. It allows us to appreciate ourselves not just for what we accomplish, but for who we are. The power of self-compassion is life-changing. It allows us to move through the world with greater confidence, to face challenges with resilience, and to build a relationship with ourselves that is rooted in kindness instead of criticism. It helps us navigate failure with grace, embrace imperfection with understanding, and find strength in our own humanity. It teaches us that we do not have to be perfect to be worthy, that we do not have to be hard on ourselves to grow, and that true strength comes not from self-punishment, but from self-love. At the end of the day, self-compassion is a choice. It is a decision to treat ourselves with the same kindness we offer to others, to meet our struggles with understanding instead of judgment, and to recognize that we are always deserving of our own love and care. It is not always easy, especially when we have spent years being our own harshest critic. But the more we practice, the more natural it becomes. And when we embrace self-compassion, we create a foundation of inner strength that allows us to move through life with greater ease, resilience, and joy. It sounds like you're wrapping up a video or speech. Here's a polished version of your closing line. Thank you, my friends. If you enjoyed this, don't forget to like and support my channel. Your support means the world to me. Thanks for watching. Let me know if you want any tweaks. Rocket smiling face with smiling eyes.